Macca's Guides.
Hey everyone, Macca here, and I'll be taking you through all of the collectibles in the Battletoads game recently available on Xbox Game Pass. In total, there are 78 collectibles, and you'll unlock achievements for getting 25, 75, and all 78 of them. Not all levels have a collectible, but the ones that do will have 5 in-level collectibles plus a bonus collectible awarded at the end for either achieving an A rank in all the fights or completing the level in a certain amount of time. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll also see the name of the level that we're in, so Act 1, Feed the Fantasy in this case, and you'll see an ongoing counter of which number collectible we're getting. Each collectible is tied to a specific slot in the collectibles menu, so you can use that number in order to figure out exactly which one you're missing. Additionally, if you have to go back in a level to mop up one you've missed, you will need to complete the entire level for it to count, otherwise they don't save. For this first mission in Act 1, Feed the Fantasy, the collectibles are extremely easy. If you miss them, then we are going to have a little bit more of an issue later on in the video when things get a lot harder. You should see these ones floating above, and you'll just use your tongue to snatch them up. And when it comes to finishing a fight with an A rank, all you want to do is make sure you hold your combo throughout the entire fight. If you do take a hit and you're worried that you won't reach the A or S rank, just pause and reload the checkpoint. The next level we have is Act 1, To the Queen, and this is a turbo bike level. Pretty much all of the collectibles are found on the right-hand side of the level as you cruise by them. Now, the one main tip I have for this level is that if you miss a collectible but you spot it with your eyeballs, all you want to do is quickly pause the game and load the last checkpoint. It'll bring you back in time and you'll get another chance at going for it. But just keep an eye out on the right-hand side at all times. There's pretty much one collectible per zone. There's like 5 zones in the level, and the bonus objective here is for finishing the entire level in 8.5 minutes or less. If you are playing on a harder difficulty and you do crash and have to reload a checkpoint, it will continue the timer. So an easy way to do this bonus objective is to either not crash or just play on a lower difficulty. The next level with collectibles in Act 1 is at the Carn-Evil, and as soon as we start and gain control of our character, we'll see one behind the waterfall where all good collectibles lie. Use your tongue to grab this one. Now here's where the collectibles start to get a little bit more tricky. Number 5 out of 5 is for finding all the balloons in the level, and there's 4 of them, and one of them is pretty early on here, just after collectible 1. You'll run forward through a couple of fights and locate the balloon in the background. Use your spitball to break the balloon, and at the end of the level we will be rewarded if we find all of them. The second balloon can be found just after the tongue ring tutorial, where you use the tongue rings to go from the foreground to the background and back to the foreground. Just after we return to the foreground, find your second balloon in the background. The second collectible can be found not far after that balloon. As you run past a small little cutscene, you'll see some kind of a theme park ride in the background in the toxic water. Use 4 spitballs to hit the 4 targets, open it up, and find the collectible inside. Just after that theme park ride, continue forward and clear the enemies of the area. You'll notice a small puzzle in the background. What we need to do is match the symbols with the puzzle. So on the left we have a crown. In the second slot, we have the star. In the third slot, we have someone holding what looks to be a bone. And in the fourth slot, we have someone who looks like they might be hanging. If you have all of those 4 locked in, press the middle button and it should present you with a collectible. Just after that puzzle, we can find our 4th collectible, run forward, and on the painting in the background on the wall here, you should notice a green ghost. Use your spitball to shoot at the ghost, and then continue forward, and there will be a fight, which I'm going to skip. And on the wall, there will be another painting here behind us with that same ghost. He is now moved from one painting to another, so we're going to shoot him with a spitball again. Now we're going to travel back to where we came from, and right near that first poster, the ghost has came back, and we're going to shoot him for a 3rd time on this first painting. Now we're going to return to the middle where we had the fight, and we'll see the ghost for the 4th and final time. Use your spitball and the little collectible will appear and you're ready to snatch it up. You'll then use a puzzle to open up a door and go along this long corridor in the back. There will be some enemies I've taken care of, and you'll eventually come out, and there should be a pretty obvious balloon directly in front of you. You'll then have a couple of fights, and you'll be approaching the end of the level. You will use the tongue ring to go back to the foreground, and you'll notice your fourth and final balloon. Pop it and make sure you grab that collectible. If you're missing one and you're not sure why, it's because you have to grab all 4 in the same run, and if you reload a checkpoint, they do respawn. Next up, the level is called So That's How That Works. Near the very beginning, you will hack a terminal, and just after that, you will notice a golden spiral splat on the wall behind you. Use your spit gum to knock it down. We have to grab 4 of these during our run. A little bit later on, we will continue and do a battle. You'll notice that there are 2 generators, a yellow one and a blue one, in a smashed window behind you. Spitball at both of them. Try the yellow one first, and it'll open up a door behind you. Go and grab your collectible. Just after that, you can find our second of 4 splats. You can spit your gum at it. It's in the second knocked window in the background. Then what we'll have is our next collectible. Just continue forward. Stay on the foreground instead of moving to the background. After a few fights, you notice these 4 pipes with 4 symbols on them. Use your spitball on all of them, and you should be able to grab the second collectible in the level. You'll then disarm the next security system and run forward. You'll notice a very obvious collectible in the background. Just use your tongue to grab it and bring it towards you for your third one. Now we'll continue. We'll do a small fight where we're in the background and there's a kind of laboratory in front of us. You should notice a pretty obvious splat in the cracked window behind you. You'll then come to this platform in the middle of the toxic water, defeat a whole bunch of enemies, and notice 2 doors in the background here. Shoot at the 2 green buttons to close the door, and then shoot at the 2 red buttons to open the door, revealing our next collectible. Last but not least, we'll open up one more security door, and just past it we'll find our 4th and final splat. If you have all 4 of them inside of that tube, it'll spawn your final collectible. Grab it and finish the level. Make sure you don't forget about your bonus objective. The next level with collectibles is in Act 2 and called Stumped. Just after you clear the first security door near the very beginning of the level, you might have to clear a couple of enemies, but you should notice a bird in the background with a little marker on it. Spitball at it. That'll be our first of 4 birds. A little bit later on, we'll see some tongue rings. We'll be in the foreground, and we'll be running to the right instead of going up into the background. You'll notice a small bird here as well. This one can be a little bit harder to spot, so make sure you grab it. That will be bird number 2. Then what we can do is run past bird number 2, and instead of going to the background with the tongue rings, go all the way to the end, and there will be a small poster. Use a spitball, and then reveal the collectible, and grab the collectible with your tongue. We'll then solve the little electricity puzzle where we get the ball to open the door, and just past that door, we should see our 3rd bird right in front of us. As soon as we enter this area, it starts a battle, so you might miss it if you don't pay attention right away. After the battle, you'll notice a furnace in the background. All we need to do is match this furnace to the picture in the top left corner. So shoot the left eyeball once and the right eyeball all the way to red hot, and this will grab us our 2nd out of 5 for this level so far. Then what we can do is we will do a whole bunch of tasks. We'll use a switch to open a door. We'll jump to the background and then jump to the foreground, take out a whole bunch of enemies, and there will be a floating collectible right here behind these boxes. It is a little bit hard to see, but maybe you'll hear it if you have a good headset. We'll then eventually reach the store. This one was a little bit more involved than some of the other ones. After you kill all of the enemies in here, you can take a picture using this cardboard cutout in the background to unlock an achievement, just in case you don't want to miss anything. But then you'll notice that there are these kind of 5 switches with a safe at the end, and the solution is up on the switches already. So just copy the inputs exactly as you see them. These are the prices of the items shown in the foreground of the video. Open up the safe and snatch the collectible from inside. That's 4 to 5. We then just continue forward, and there is our 4th and final bird. Also, make sure you're going for all A ranks in all fights, and after the last fight, which is right here, we're going to skip it through the magic of editing. We will find that we have all 4 birds, and it'll reveal our 5th and final collectible for this mission. Again, for achieving A ranks, all you want to do is make sure you do all the fights in a combo. Then we are in the Act 2 level, Mistreated, and we'll be learning how to ice grind, carpet grind, and sponge grind. and there are a couple of collectibles on the way. Our first collectible is pretty obvious. Then our second collectible from a checkpoint will go up a small ramp across a jump into a carpet grind, into a sponge grind, back into a carpet grind. Make sure you stay up top, and then across the gap there will be our second collectible. Our third one here is after a long ramp going upwards into a carpet grind. You want to immediately jump and go into the sponge grind. This part of the track separates into 2 levels, and the collectible is on the higher of the 2 levels, so make sure you grab that before continuing on to the next checkpoint. Then what we can do is we'll go and another one where it splits off into 2, and we want to make sure we grab the higher of the 2 roads. This jump is a little bit harder to do, but once you make it, you should be able to spot the collectible quite easily. If you do miss, just make sure you fall or load the last checkpoint. Last but not least, near the end, you'll be doing a couple of smaller grinds, and you'll have to jump down in between them to grab our 5th and final collectible. Additionally, make sure you complete this level in 6 minutes or less for our bonus objective. We are now in Act 3, where the game starts to get very quote-unquote interesting. Basically, the game becomes a shoot-'em-up and a platformer, and it has absolutely no brawling or beat-'em-ups. But all of the shoot-'em-up levels do have 5 collectibles plus a bonus for finishing in a certain amount of time. And all you need to do for these is just pay attention to the screen. For this first level, Spacebrawls, all the collectibles pretty much come from the top middle of the screen and work their way down towards you near the middle. It gets a little bit more, they get a little bit more hidden later on in some of the other shoot-'em-up levels, but this one's super easy. I'm not even going to comment on them. Just pay attention to the middle of the screen from the top to the bottom. We are now in my least favorite type of level in this game, and this is these kind of side-scrolling puzzle platformer. Near the very beginning of the first one, called We Go High, just grab the first crate and move it to the left instead of the right. You'll now be able to jump up into this secret area, and you can move the next box to jump up and grab the first collectible before we move on. After we move across a couple of platforms, we'll have to make sure we watch out for the green stones that can hurt us. Again, this platforming is not very good in my opinion. We'll notice a very obvious collectible floating up in between 2 of these rocks. We'll have to make sure we jump from the higher of the ledges to grab it. We'll then proceed a little bit further on into the level, and we have to jump onto a moving platform and under a bunch of green rocks. Once we're on a piece of wood, we have to click down and A to drop down and find our 3rd collectible. Additionally, the bonus here is to finish in under 4.5 minutes or less, which actually can be quite difficult. Later on in the mission, you'll reach a checkpoint where we are kind of in an underground cave. This one is a little bit more involved, but you'll call an elevator to come grab you, use that elevator to go back up, and basically we're going to be working our way up and to the left instead of up and to the right. So to do that, we'll go to the right and then jump on the platforms across to the left. We will use the little jump down right here to push the elevator up, and then we'll be able to jump down and push this crate to the left. After we push the crate to the left, just jump up into the secret area, and here we'll find our 4th collectible for this mission. Our 5th and final collectible for We Go High, from this checkpoint right here, we're going to move forward and to the right-hand side, call down this elevator, and again, we're going to work our way to the top left instead of the top right, where the game would want us to naturally go. So after calling down the elevator, grab the crate and move it as far left as you can so you can get up onto this wood jump up, and then just keep jumping up until you make your way about halfway up. Here what we can do is call an elevator, but before we do that, we want to make sure we put the crate on there so that it lifts up the crate before we get up there. Now that we have the crate up here, what we can do is basically just push it to the left, use it to jump up to a place we wouldn't have been able to reach before, and keep jumping up and to the left until we find our 5th and final collectible for this mission. Here we have another shoot 'em up space level, another easy set of collectibles. The first and second collectible will appear near the middle, just slightly offset to the right hand side, and come down a little bit diagonally to the bottom right hand side of the screen. These ones again are very hard to miss, but just in case, I have included them in the video, you know, just to make sure that everyone is happy, and I do actually show all of the collectibles. For the bonus objective, finish in 8 minutes or less, which isn't hard at all. For the third collectible in this, you will have to keep your eye out a little bit better than maybe some of the other ones. We're going to be looking at the top left of the screen, and it's going to be coming across diagonally to the bottom right of the screen. It will go right to the middle of the screen, but can be a little bit harder to see if you have a lot of enemies and bullets on your screen at the same time. For collectible number 4 and 5 in Street Justice, these ones are pretty easy as well. You'll see the pattern of enemies that spawn for me will be the same ones as spawn for you. It might be a little bit easier on the easier difficulty, but the collectibles pretty much hover right in the middle of the screen for a fair bit of time. You shouldn't really have too many issues with these, but again, make sure you do finish the level in order for these to count. We're now on the Act 3 level, Bigger Than It Looks, playing as Pimple. We'll have to work our way across these gaps here, but instead we're actually going to drop down on purpose. And just past these rocks, you can see that there is a way to jump down here on the bottom right-hand corner. So we're going to do that. We're going to make sure we avoid all of the bad green blocks, and we should be able to grab that collectible quite easily. A little bit later on, we will be going underneath a couple of like rolling green blocks, and instead of continuing down and forward, go up and to the right and follow this path until you get to your second collectible. This one is another easy one, but can be easy to miss if you're not paying attention and just trying to speed run the level as quickly as possible. Additionally, for these bonus objectives of finishing in as quickly, as quick of a time as possible, it is easier to just avoid the collectibles and try to just speed run the level once you know how to proceed. Eventually, you'll make your way through the level, and you'll see that there is a platform that moves its way up and down as you work your way through. For this, just jump on the platform, let it carry you up, and go up and to the left instead of going down and to the right to continue the level. For our fourth collectible from a checkpoint, you'll notice that there are a bunch of these new types of platforms that go into the spiky ground, so we'll make sure we avoid going into the spikes. And on the third platform, we can transfer to the fourth platform, and then we can transfer onto a platform above that one. And again, we're going up and to the left instead of down and to the right, and we can find our 4th out of 5 collectibles for Bigger Than It Looks. Then what we can do a little bit later on is from this checkpoint right here, we'll just proceed. Watch out for the spiky ground, watch out for the green spiky rocks. After a couple of them, what we can do instead of moving forward normally, what we can do is drop down right here in this large gap where there's a floating platform. And once you drop down, just follow down and to the left instead of up and to the right, and we will make our way to our 5th collectible for this level. We're now in the level Reaching the Peak, probably my least favorite level in the game. And from this checkpoint here, what we can do is use the plate to extend the bridge, but instead we're going to drop down and go underneath. Here we can find an elevator that we can call, and then call the elevator back up, and it'll take you through the collectible. A little bit later on, you'll have to make this set of mandatory jumps to get to the next part of the level, and you'll have to take an elevator to jump up and to the right to a checkpoint. Instead, we're going to go underneath the elevator, drop down into a collectible. We'll then have to work our way back up and around kind of the way we came the first time, but it's not too bad. Our third collectible here from a checkpoint will jump up these diagonal kind of zigzags, and there will be this block puzzle, which seems pretty hard, but it's not. Move the right block all the way to the right, move the left block all the way to the left, and now we can trigger the elevator in the top right corner. Once we do that, we can just push both of the blocks onto this middle part, and basically we can now walk up and to the right in order to grab the collectible, and then we can actually just move the blocks off of all of the push plates to actually proceed with the level. We do have to beat this level in under 7 minutes, which can be a little bit challenging. You'll then reach a checkpoint where you can either go left and right, and the level kind of splits off. You can do whichever way you want. First, you have to do both anyways. But if we're going to go to the left first for collectible number 4, what we can do is we'll reach this area where we have to push a crate onto a small elevator pulley lift. This will push a button that will open up a door for us. And just after this door is where we can get our next collectible. So take this crate off of this pulley and drop down into the hole that it just created and into here. What we need to do is platform all the way up and to the top right in order to grab collectible number 4. Now I'm going to return to that middle checkpoint we were at earlier. We had the chance to go either left or go right. I'm going to go right this time to finish off the other half of this section. And we're just going to continue past a whole bunch of stuff. And basically, where we use the crate, instead of taking the crate to the left past the doors, we're going to take the crate up the right-hand side elevator. And then we're going to ride the elevator up with the crate, push it to the right, and find a small hidden area off to the right. And here we can find our 5th and final collectible for this level before finishing it off. Act 3, the level is called Most Unwanted, another easy peasy lemon squeezy level that is a shoot 'em up. The collectibles here are going to be coming pretty much right across the middle of the screen. They're a little bit harder to spot just because there are a lot more enemies and a lot more bullets happening. But if you do miss one for whatever reason, just try replaying the level and feel free to reference the guide in terms of their movement. There is one that moves from like left to right near the top of the screen. That is a little bit harder to spot than some of the others, but otherwise a pretty easy level again. Last but not least, in Act 4, there is one level with collectibles called Gut Reaction. It is a escape level where you play as the Dark Queen. All of the collectibles are seen on screen as you descend, but you do have to be pretty quick to grab them to make sure that you don't die as the goo ascends from the ceiling. So I am going to show you where they are and how to get them as quickly as possible. If you do grab them and die before reaching a checkpoint, you will have to grab them again. Additionally, you want to finish this entire level in 5 minutes or less, including all of your restarts to make sure you grab that bonus objective. If you grabbed every collectible along the way and all side bonus objectives, you will have 78 out of 78 when you complete the game, and you should unlock the achievement for grabbing all of the collectibles. Now there is another achievement for 75 and one for reaching 25, which you probably grabbed along the way. You may also need to revisit some levels to get some A rank fights, as well as some levels for speedrunning purposes for the finish under blank amount of time. But either way, hopefully it wasn't too hard for you. I found that I got through this entire game on the low difficulty in like literally 2.5 hours. So if you're just trying to grind out collectibles, it really won't take you too long if you already know what to look forward to in the rest of the game. Thank you for watching. I hope the video was helpful. Special thanks to everyone on Patreon for supporting the show. Thanks to William Seaman, Puffy Vins, and Elder Ghost, and hopefully I see you soon. Peace.